Hello friends, in these lectures we have been considering a particular defect that largely governs plastic deformation in a material. Now this defect we refer to it as the dislocation. In the previous lecture we saw that there are two forms of the dislocations, and these dislocations are referred to as the edge and screw dislocation. Now there are different ways you can classify or you can distinguish one dislocation from another. In the previous lecture, in keeping with how we studied different forms of defects, we saw or we differentiated edge dislocation from the screw dislocation depending on how the atomic positions changed when you have this particular defect. Now in case of edge dislocation, what you would have is there would be an introduction of a new layers of atoms, and the particular dislocation line with which we understand the distortion that is brought by the edge dislocation, we identify that particular dislocation line with respect to the change in the interatomic spacing that it brings about. For instance, here is an example of the representation of the edge dislocation in two dimensions. So this here is the extra layer of atoms. Now here in these regions or in these spots, the interatomic spacings is maintained to be constant. However, in these regions the interatomic spacing is largely distorted, and the larger you move away from this particular point here, the lesser the distortion in the interatomic spacing is observed. And this line here that is projecting towards us, so this line of atoms that is projecting towards us is what we refer to as the dislocation line. So with respect to the dislocation line or above the dislocation line, in this form of edge dislocation we have an extra layer of atoms, and this we refer to it as the positive edge dislocation, and we represented it in this manner. So the edge dislocation is characteristically involves an introduction of a new layer of atom with respect to a dislocation line. So a dislocation line is a row of atoms that is now projecting towards us, and an extra layer of atom is added above it in case of positive edge dislocation and below it in case of negative edge dislocation. The way you would identify this dislocation line is depending on where you stand with respect to the dislocation line, the distortion in the interatomic spacing would vary. If you stand closer to the dislocation line, the distortion in the interatomic spacing will be larger, and the farther you move away from the dislocation line, it will decrease. Now, a similar description can be given for the screw dislocation. In case of screw dislocation, what you would have is a section of layers of atoms being removed and replaced it elsewhere. So your dislocation line would remain the same, however, a section of the atoms would be removed and replaced elsewhere. So based on how the arrangement of the atoms is disturbed by the dislocation, we have categorized it into edge and screw dislocation. Towards the end of the lecture, we introduced a parameter that helped us quantify the amount of distortion that is brought about by the dislocation. So this particular parameter we refer to it as the Burgers vector. So this is the vector that helps us quantify the distortion that is introduced by the dislocation. Now, as any vectors, this comprises of a magnitude and a direction. So this magnitude component here, it helps us quantify amount of distortion that is introduced by the dislocation. So the magnitude component of the Burgers vector helps us quantify the amount of distortion, how much distortion is introduced by a given dislocation. It is quantified by the magnitude of the Burgers vector. And if you could recollect, the direction helps us distinguish one form of the vector from another. So it helps us distinguish edge vector from screw vector. So if you could recollect, we saw there is a characteristic relation between how the Burgers vector aligns itself with respect to the dislocation line. In case of the edge dislocation, as you can see here, the Burgers vector is perpendicular to that of the dislocation line. However, in case of the screw dislocation, the Burgers vector is parallel to that of the dislocation line. So, the Burgers vector comprises of a magnitude component and the direction component. The magnitude component helps us to understand how much of a distortion is, rather this is distortion, how much of a distortion is introduced by a given dislocation. The direction helps us distinguish or identify which form of dislocation do we see in the system. So, when you have a relation between the dislocation line and the Burgers vector in such a way that it is perpendicular to each other, then you can say that this dislocation is an edge dislocation. If they are parallel to one another, then we can classify that as the screw dislocation. Now, there might be possibilities that the Burgers vector might fall in the line, or they might be oriented in such a way that it is neither parallel nor perpendicular. So, in that case, it helps us to understand that the dislocation that we see is the combination of edge and screw vector. So, in cases or in most physical condition, it is very rare, or in a physical case, it is very rare to see edge dislocation alone and screw dislocation alone. In most cases, there will be a combination of edge and screw dislocation. In those cases, the way the Burgers vector will be oriented, or the direction of Burgers vector in that direction, or in that case, will be wherein you have a combination of edge and screw dislocation. It will not be parallel or neither perpendicular. So, in that case, we will be able to say that the dislocation that we see is a combination of edge and screw dislocation. So, therefore, in addition to distinguishing what sort of dislocations we have, the Burgers vector, particularly the direction component of the Burgers vector, help us identify if what we observe is a pure edge or screw dislocation or is a combination of both. So, whenever this direction of the Burgers vector or the angle the Burgers vector makes with the dislocation line, if it is neither parallel nor perpendicular, then we will be able to say that whatever dislocations that we are looking into, the dislocation for which we constructed this Burgers circuit and the resulting Burgers vector is for a dislocation that is the combination of edge and the screw dislocation. So, all these things can be understood from this Burgers vector. Now, with this description of the Burgers vector, there are few components that are missing. So, we will try to fill those components, or we will try to talk about those components in this lecture. So, these will give a good introduction to what a Burgers circuit is, and what a Burgers vector is. However, this understanding of our Burgers circuit and our Burgers vector is rather restricted, and there are certain questions this understanding of the Burgers vector cannot answer. So, those questions we will try to answer in this lecture. Now, in this construction of a Burgers circuit, the one that you see here, so in this construction of the Burgers circuit, and correspondingly the way we have represented the Burgers vectors involves considering a system with an inclusion or with a defect. So, we have initially considered a system 1 that includes a extra row of atoms, or a form of the dislocation that is the edge dislocation, and for that system we built a Burgers circuit. So, the Burgers circuit, we actually could recollect, we began with a point, we began with a lattice point, a position wherein you could find an atom, and this structure is rather a simpler structure, that is simple cubic structure, and we have considered a direction that is 1, 0, 0 direction, and we have considered just the two-dimensional representation, and the dislocation line of this particular edge dislocation is pointing towards us. Now, for such a setup, or for such an arrangement of the atoms which includes a positive edge dislocation, we began by constructing the Burgers circuit in order to understand the in order to calculate the Burgers vector. For that, we began with a lattice point wherein we would be able to find an atom, and then we constructed a circuit by moving in a clockwise direction and taking a point from atom to atom. So, we took a path from atom to atom in a clockwise direction, and we completed the circuit exactly where we began, so that Q and M, they coincide with each other. And the same we did for an ideal case. The second one is an ideal arrangement, a theoretical or an ideal arrangement, and in that case we reconstructed the Burger circuit that we constructed for the case 1. And when we reconstructed it, we saw that the point M and Q, which initially overlapped or coincide with each other, they did not coincide with each other, and in order for these 2 points to overlap with each other, we need to move this point Q to M, and that movement or the way the Q can be made to overlap with M, that we did using a vector that includes a magnitude and a direction, and that we refer to as the Burgers vector. Now, this is one way of calculating the Burgers vector. The other way we can do it is we can start with the system 2. We can start with the ideal system. So let me use a different color to distinguish it. We can start with the ideal system. So this is our starting point. So in this case, we will be beginning with this, and then we begin by constructing a Burgers vector. So, or rather, we will begin by constructing a Burgers circuit. So we again take the clockwise direction path and we move atom by atom. So meaning we move lattice point to lattice point. And when we begin with the ideal circuit, or we begin with the ideal system and we begin constructing a Burgers circuit, we move in a clockwise manner and we move atom by atom, or rather lattice point by lattice point, and we end up with a circuit such a way that your Q and M, it overlaps with each other. So essentially we began in the initial case, we began by considering a system with an edge dislocation. We constructed a Burgers circuit, we reconstructed it into the ideal system, and we calculated the Burgers vector. Now we are doing it in the other way around. We are beginning with the ideal system and we are constructing the same Burgers circuit, or the approach we are taking to construct the Burgers circuit is the same. We are beginning with a point, we are beginning with a lattice point, moving atom by atom, taking the clockwise direction. And now we have reached a point, or we have reached or constructed a circuit in such a way that the end point of the circuit meets the point of origin, or the point where we began. So in this case, what we have is Q, it is overlapping or coinciding with the end point of the circuit. Q is coinciding with the point of origin of the Burgers circuit, that is M. Now we do the same, or we construct the same Burgers circuit with the same number of atoms by atoms movement and the same direction. So we reconstruct this Burgers circuit in the system 1, wherein we have the edge dislocation that is present. Now when we do that, when we reconstruct this Burgers circuit that we created for the ideal system, wherein the initial point and the final point coincided with each other, when we do that for the system 1, wherein we have a edge dislocation that is present, you would observe that the circuit stops here. So what are we maintaining, or what are we conserving between these two systems are the number of atoms by atom movement that we are taking, and the direction of the Burgers circuit that we are using to construct this particular loop. Now when we do that, when we begin with the ideal system and we move to the system with the dislocation, we observe that the Burgers circuit does not, it is not complete, and there is a considerable, or there is an observable gap between the initial and the final point of the Burgers circuit. Now the Burgers vector, the definition remains the same. The Burgers vector now needs to move the point Q to M, and in that case the Burgers vector should move in this direction. However, the magnitude of the Burgers vector would remain the same. So what we have essentially done is we have taken the opposite path, or we have taken rather an opposite approach of using Burgers vector to calculate the amount of distortion in a system with one edge dislocation. So instead of beginning with a dislocated system, we began with an ideal system. We constructed a Burgers circuit wherein the initial and the starting point overlapped with each other. When we reconstructed it in the system with the dislocation, we saw there is a gap between the initial and the final point of the Burgers circuit. Now we attempt to overlap, or we attempt to move this final point to the point of origin of this Burgers circuit, and when we do that, we arrive at the Burgers vector. Now this Burgers vector, the Burgers vector that we have arrived at by considering the ideal case first, as you can see, the magnitude of the Burgers vector remains the same, however the direction is opposite. So depending on the approach you take, in this case we have the Burgers vector or the direction of the Burgers vector pointing in this manner. However, when we consider the another approach wherein we began with the system with a dislocation, the Burgers vector is pointing this direction. Now this approach wherein we begin by constructing the Burgers circuit for the ideal system is referred to as the right hand convention. Or the other name for this is start finish convention. So there are two names given to this approach wherein we begin with, so this approach is characterized by the point of origin or where we the initial system that we consider. So rather, instead of beginning, it's the initial system or the first system that we consider, and the first system will consider if it is ideal, that is devoid of any dislocations, devoid of any defect, then what you would have is a right hand convention or the start finish convention. Now the Burgers vector that you get for this approach, that is right hand or start finish convention, is in this direction. As you can see, it is in blue and it is in this direction. Now if you consider the left hand convention, that is by beginning with a system with a dislocation, or when you consider or when you begin considering a system with dislocation and then compare it to the ideal system, that is the left hand convention, then the Burgers vector is in this direction. So the difference between a right hand convention and the left hand convention in the construction of the Burgers circuit. So there are two conventions in which you can consider or you can build a Burgers circuit. So in case of the right hand convention, you begin with by considering an ideal system and then move on to a system with the dislocation. In case of left hand convention, you begin with a system with a dislocation and then move on to an ideal system. In both these cases, the magnitude of the Burgers vector, it remains the same. However, the direction is quite opposite. So what you have is the right hand case, you would have the direction pointing in this manner, and in case of left hand convention, the direction is pointing opposite. So this is one of the way this is one of the convention that you need to remember while constructing a Burgers circuit. So depending on which system you begin considering, the direction of the Burgers vector might vary. So this you need to understand. Now, irrespective of the convention you take, it is also important to note that the distinction between edge and screw dislocation that is brought about by the direction of the Burgers vector is not disturbed. Even though this direction is opposite, depending on right or left hand convention that you take, even though the direction of the Burgers vector is opposite, it is still perpendicular to the dislocation line that is pointing towards us. So still the dislocation line is pointing towards us, and with respect to the dislocation line, the Burgers vector in case of the edge dislocation is perpendicular. However, the direction is opposite along the perpendicular direction, but is still perpendicular. So therefore, the property or the characteristic feature of the Burgers vector to distinguish edge and screw dislocation is not disturbed by the convention. However, this convention distinguishes it renders different direction of the Burgers vector depending on which system you consider first. So this is one of the feature of the Burgers vector or the construction of the Burgers circuit that we need to remember. Now, even though the Burgers vector helps us distinguish edge dislocation from that of the screw dislocation, we need to distinguish the different forms of edge dislocation using this Burgers vector. We saw, depending on where you find the extra row of atoms, we can classify or distinguish positive edge dislocation from that of the negative edge dislocation. So in this case, what we have is a positive edge dislocation. So we have the extra row of atoms that is being present here, and the dislocation line is here. So that means we have a positive edge dislocation. Now it is also possible for us to have a negative edge dislocation if the extra row of atoms are found below the dislocation line. Now, in that case, we need to distinguish using this Burger circuit and Burger's vector the positive edge dislocation from that of the negative dislocation. So, how one can distinguish that? So, that let us answer that question now. Now, the Burger's vector, in order to construct it, so we followed two particular steps. The Burger circuit is characterized by two particular features. So, one is the direction that you take to construct the circuit. So, direction to construct the circuit, and the movement. So, and the movement that we take, or the jumps that we have in order to complete this circuit. So, a Burger circuit, it characterized by the construction of a Burger circuit is characterized by two critical aspects. One is the direction that you take and the jump that we perform. So, in case of jump, movement, or the jump. So, what I mean by jump is when we construct a Burger circuit, we jump from one atomic position to another atomic position. So, one atom to another atom. So, that is what we mean by atom by atom movement. So, we move atom by atom. So, that is the way we move when we are constructing the Burger circuit. So, the other characteristic feature that talks about, or that gives a particular property to the Burger circuit is the direction that we consider. So, in this case, we have considered a clockwise Burger circuit. So, we have considered a clockwise movement, and we have considered an atom by atom movement, and this is what characterizes the Burger circuit that we have in this representation. Now, it is also possible for us to consider an anti-clockwise movement. So, even if you consider an anti-clockwise movement, what is not going to change is the magnitude of the Burger's vector. You can try to construct a Burger circuit, say by considering a left-hand convention, that is, you begin with a system that already has a dislocation, and you can construct a Burger circuit in the anti-clockwise direction and then try to recreate it here. The magnitude of the Burger's vector in that case as well will not change. However, the direction changes. So, what we have essentially done is, instead of clockwise construction of the Burger circuit, we have considered an anti-clockwise depiction of the Burger circuit. And even if you do that, you can give it a try. Even if you do that, what you would observe is the magnitude of the Burger's vector, it would remain the same. After all, magnitude means it's the amount of distortion that is introduced by the dislocation. So, therefore, it will remain same. However, the direction of the Burger's vector, it will vary. Now, this difference in the Burger's vector, because of the path that you take, or the direction of the path that you take, can be used for our advantage to distinguish different forms of a particular category of the dislocation. So, let me repeat. This distinction in the direction of the Burger's vector, that is brought about by the direction of the path that we take in the construction of the Burger's vector, can be used for our advantage to distinguish one form of the edge dislocation or screw dislocation from another form. So, what I mean by that is, we can construct a convention based on the dislocation line. So, we can build a convention based on the dislocation line, and we can say for positive dislocation, according to our convention, we would be constructing a clockwise Burger circuit. So, we can build a convention. It is based on the dislocation line, and we can say for positive dislocation, we will be constructing a Burger circuit that is of a clockwise nature, and for negative dislocation, edge dislocation, and anti-clockwise nature. So, when you build such convention, then it will be easy for us to, or it will help us and distinguish positive edge dislocation from the negative edge dislocation based on the direction of the Burger's vector. So, this convention based on the dislocation line and the place or where you find the extra layer of atoms. So, the convention based on the dislocation line and the position of the extra layer of atom will help us distinguish the positive edge dislocation from the negative dislocation, provided you consider appropriate direction for the Burgers circuit's path. So now, since the overall convention depends on the dislocation line and where you found the extra layer of atom, or where you find rather the extra layer of atoms, this is referred to as the line sense. Line sense. So the line sense is a convention that helps you distinguish positive edge dislocation from the negative edge dislocation. How it does this is, so depending on where you find the extra layer of atom, so depending on how the dislocation line distinguishes your particular category of dislocation, be it edge dislocation or be it screw dislocation, how this particular line distinguishes your particular or your category of dislocation. Based on that, you will be assigning the paths that you take in order to construct the Burgers circuit. Supposing you take a clockwise path for the positive edge dislocation, according to the convention, the anti-clockwise path should be taken for the negative edge dislocation. And depending on this convention, or depending on the path that you take to construct the Burgers circuit, the direction of the resulting Burgers vector would vary, and based on that, you will be able to distinguish the positive edge dislocation from the negative edge dislocation. So what line sense essentially does is, so what a line sense is, a convention that helps us distinguish the different forms of the Burgers vector, or rather different forms of a particular category of the dislocation. Or to put it even more simply, the Burgers or the line sense helps us distinguish positive edge dislocation from the negative edge dislocation. It helps us distinguish where you would find the extra layer of atoms with respect to the dislocation line, and that is the reason why it is referred to as the line sense. So depending on the convention of the line sense, you will be able to understand where you can find the extra layer of atom with respect to the dislocation line. For that, you need to fix, you need to be sure, or this, according to this convention, when you consider a material with numerous dislocation, this line sense should be fixed initially. So, and once you fix this line sense, that is for the positive dislocation, we will be proceeding along the clockwise direction. Then according to this convention, wherever you find a negative dislocation, you would be proceeding along the anti-clockwise direction in order to construct the Burgers vector. So this line sense is a convention that helps us distinguish the positive edge dislocation from that of the negative edge dislocation. And with respect to the name, the line sense helps us understand where you could find the extra layer of atoms with respect to the dislocation line. If you have an extra layer of atoms above the dislocation line, that is the positive edge dislocation, you would assign a particular convention, and in case of the negative edge dislocation, the convention would render an opposite path. Supposing according to the convention for positive edge dislocation, if you assign a clockwise path, in case of the negative edge dislocation, when you find such a dislocation in your system, then you have to follow the anti-clockwise path when you construct the Burgers circuit. So this line sense helps us to distinguish the positive edge dislocation from the negative edge dislocation based on the direction of the Burgers vector. So in addition to distinguishing the nature of the dislocation, now we are able to distinguish the different forms of dislocation within a particular category. So in addition to distinguishing edge dislocation from the screw dislocation, what we have been able to do, or what line sense helps us do, is to distinguish the positive edge dislocation from that of the negative edge dislocation. Now it is again important to note that this depends on the direction of the Burgers vector. Supposing for the same system we consider left hand convention for constructing the Burgers circuit, and the same system we reconsider or we construct the Burgers circuit using the right hand convention, then this line sense will not work, and the direction of the Burgers vector will not be able to identify if it represents the convention or the difference in the nature of the edge dislocation, because as we have seen in the while considering the different convention for constructing the Burger circuit, we need to fix which system that you consider first. Are we considering the ideal system first, or are we considering the system with the dislocation first? That needs to be fixed initially. Secondly, what needs to be fixed is this line sense. So the line sense, we have to set our description of the line sense in such a way that when you have an extra layer of atom above the dislocation line, we will be following this path, if not the other path. So while constructing or while considering a Burger spectre and a Burger circuit for a system, we need to fix both the convention, right or left hand convention first, and this should be followed by the line sense convention, and this should be followed by the line sense convention. So we cannot ignore, or we cannot begin with the line sense convention without considering the left or right hand convention, because if you do that, we won't be able to distinguish where the direction of the Burger vector arises from. The direction change in the Burger vector might arise from the left or the right hand convention that you take, or it can also arise from the line sense. So while constructing a Burger vector, it is important for us to begin with the right or left hand convention, to fix that convention first, to fix which system you would be considering first, ideal or the system with dislocation. You need to begin with that and then move to the convention of the line sense. That is, we have to consider how you will be tracking the path of the Burger vector if you have a positive edge dislocation or you have the negative dislocation. So these two, the combination of these two helps us distinguish by just looking into the direction of the Burger vector if we are talking about a positive edge dislocation or the negative edge dislocation. So these are two ways or two different features that we need to keep in mind while constructing the Burger vector to get the full or to understand comprehensively what the Burger vector renders us. So in addition to just talking about the different form of dislocation, and in addition to quantifying the distortion that is brought about by the dislocation, the Burger vector delves even more further. It helps us distinguish or identify which form of edge dislocation we are talking about, and it also helps us distinguish the ideal system from that of the system with the dislocation. So before winding this discussion on the Burger vector, let us consider few terminologies that are used when talking or when discussing the Burger vector, or when talking about the distortion or quantifying the distortion that is introduced by the dislocation. Now, if you consider this case here, the case that we have been looking into, that is the two-dimensional representation of a positive edge dislocation in a simple cubic crystal structure. So if you consider the case here, the Burger vector, so let us assume that in this case we have considered the left hand convention and the line sense in such a way that we have a clockwise rotation or the clockwise path for the positive edge dislocation. So in such a case, what you have is the Burger vector wherein, or the magnitude of which is the interatomic distance. So it is the distance between two atoms in the regular arrangement of within a simple cubic structure. So if you consider these positions in a unit cell, so if you consider just a simple cubic unit cell, and as we have seen, this is along the 111 or 100 direction, so the Burger vector is the distance between these two. So this is nothing but the dimension of the unit cell, and it is just the distance between two lattice points wherein you have the position of the atoms. So in this case, whenever your Burger vector, it represents distance between two lattice points in a given crystal structure. You have a definite crystal structure, you have specific positions of the atom, and the Burger vector that you see is the distance between the two atoms or the lattice points wherein you could find the atoms. Then in that case, the Burger vector is referred to as the lattice translation vector. So a Burger vector can be a lattice translation vector when the magnitude of the Burger vector is the distance between two atomic positions within the lattice point. So this is one of the ways you can talk about, or you can describe the magnitude of the Burger vector. So the axis translation vector is nothing but when the magnitude of the Burgers vector is equal to the interatomic spacing in a given crystal structure. So the Burgers vector cannot be lattice translation vector if the atomic position or you find an atoms in the interstitial position. So in case of you have a combination of point defect and a dislocation, and the Burgers vector is not equal to the interatomic spacing or the unit cell dimension, but it is the distance between atom and an interstitial position, then it will not be a lattice translation vector. So lattice translation vector or a dislocation can have a lattice translation vector when its Burgers vector is equal to the interatomic spacing in a given crystal structure. Now, based on this lattice translation vector, let us see how we can represent a Burgers vector. Now, in this case, what we have is the along 1, 0, 0 direction of a simple cubic crystal structure, rather. So we have a simple cubic crystal structure, and this direction is 1, 0, 0 direction, and the Burgers vector or the magnitude of the Burgers vector is the interatomic spacing in this direction. So first we need to consider the direction, and that is 1, 0, 0 we will be representing in this manner. And since the magnitude of the Burgers vector is equal to the interatomic spacing in this direction of 1, 0, 0, we leave it as it is. So in case of a simple cubic crystal structure, when you have a Burgers vector that is a lattice translation vector, then it is represented in this manner just by considering its direction. And since along this direction the Burgers vector is equal to the interatomic spacing, we mention it as it is. Now let us consider a body-centered crystal structure. So in this case, what you would have is, you would have, in addition to the atoms along in the corners, you would have atom at the center of the crystal structure, or the center of the unit cell rather. So supposing now if we consider the direction 1, 0, 0, and the Burgers vector or the magnitude of the Burgers vector is the atomic distance, the interatomic distance between this atom here 1 and the atom at the center, that is 2. So you have a Burgers vector that is along 1, 0, 0 direction, and the magnitude of the atom or the magnitude of the Burgers vector is the interatomic spacing between atom 1, that is this corner atom. So let me highlight it in red. So this corner atom and the body centered atom, that is 2. So the magnitude of the Burgers vector is these or the interatomic distance between these two atoms, and this is along 1, 0, 0 direction. Since in this BCC these 2 points are also the position of the atoms, these 2 points are also lattice points, this vector is also a lattice translation vector. So in case of BCC, there are 2 possibilities of having lattice translation vector, that is these 2 positions. When you have a Burgers vector that which has magnitude between, or that has magnitude equal to the interatomic spacing between these 2 atoms, it is a lattice translation vector. And in this case, wherein the interatomic spacing is between these 2, that is 1 and 2, the atom at the corner and the body centered atom, even that vector is referred to as the lattice translation vector. So there are 2 possibilities of having lattice translation vectors in BCC: the distance between the corner atoms and the distance between corner and the body centered atoms. Now we are focusing on the distance between the corner and the body centered atom. So in case of corner and the body centered atom, the direction that we need to consider, the Burgers vector, the direction of the Burgers vector is 1, 1, 0, and the magnitude of it is half of the overall distance in this direction. See the overall interatomic distance between these 2 along this direction, and it will be the half of it. So we will be considering 1 by 2 of 1, 1, 0. So in this direction there are 3 atoms that could be identified, and the body centered atom is present in between the 2 atoms along this direction, and therefore the magnitude or the Burgers vector is represented by 1 by 2, 1, 0, 0. So the 1 by 2, it talks about the magnitude of the Burgers vector along this direction. So this term here, it talks about the direction, and the prefactor here, it talks about the magnitude. So if you consider, or you can reconstruct, or you can express this particular Burgers vector by considering the atomic position of the atom 2, that is A by 2, A by 2 and 0, or rather A by 2, A by 2 and A by 2, and this direction is 1, 1, 1, pardon me. So if you consider the atomic position as A by 2, A by 2 and A by 2, and A is the dimension of the unit cell, which we can assume to be 1, and then in that case, if I can take the 1 by 2 out, and we can just express this position in terms of the direction and magnitude, and you have your 1 by 2 here that talks about the magnitude of your Burgers vector along this direction 1, 1, 1. So this is how we represent the Burgers vector. So we have the magnitude component and we have the direction component. Now we can do the same for FCC crystal structure, and in the case of FCC crystal structure, you can also have two forms of lattice translation vectors, that is the, by considering the distance, interatomic distance between the corner atoms, and also by considering the interatomic distance between the corner atoms and the face centered atoms. And also it is possible to consider the distance between the face centered atoms, but then it will come back to the distance between the corner atoms. So therefore there are two ways you can have the lattice translation vector, a Burgers vector that is equal to the lattice translation vector in FCC crystal structure. And if you consider the Burgers vector between the corner atoms and the face centered atom, it will be of this form, wherein the position of the atoms will be A by 2, A by 2 and 0, and the direction will be 1, 1, 0. So based on the position of the atoms, you will be able to gain the direction and also the magnitude of the Burgers vector. So here are the position of the atom, this is in case of BCC and this is in case of FCC. So by considering the position of the atom, you will be able to express the Burgers vector, wherein you are considering both magnitude and the direction. So this is where you have, or this is how you represent the Burgers vector when it is equal to the distance between, or it is that equal to the interatomic distance between the corner atom and the body center atom in BCC structure, and this is the Burgers vector when it is equal to the interatomic spacing between the corner atom and the face centered atom. And in both these cases, these Burgers vectors are the lattice translation vectors. So what we have now seen is how one can classify, or when one can categorize the Burgers vector as the lattice translation vectors, and we have seen how we can represent the different Burgers vector. So in this representation, we have both the component of the magnitude and also the component of the direction. Now when you want to distinguish or calculate the magnitude of the Burgers vector alone, so this is just the component of the component that brings about, or that talks about the magnitude of the Burgers vector. This is not the actual magnitude, this is the component that talks about the magnitude of the Burgers vector. Now if you want to calculate exclusively the magnitude of the Burgers vector, the amount of distortion that is brought about by the Burgers vector, we can do it by considering the individual change in the position of the atom along with the direction. So if you consider the individual change in the position of the atoms, it is A by 2, A by 2 and A by 2 in case of the BCC crystal structure, and the interatomic distance is between the corner and the body centered atom. So in order to consider the magnitude of the Burgers vector, we need to consider the interatomic distance. So for in case of the lattice translation vectors, we need to consider the position or the distance between the atoms. So in that case, the magnitude of the Burgers vector will be A square, A by 2 the whole square, A by 2 the whole square plus A by 2 the whole square, whole power 1 by 2. So in this way, but just by considering the interatomic distance, so we are confining ourselves to the BCC crystal structure, and we are talking about a Burgers vector which has the magnitude of the interatomic spacing between the corner and the body centered atom, and in that case the magnitude of the Burgers vector can be calculated by this expression here, wherein we are exclusively talking in terms of the interatomic distance. So we are squaring each of the interatomic distance, or we are squaring the interatomic distance in each of these coordinates and taking the square root of it. So that is how we are calculating, or we should calculate rather, the magnitude of the Burgers vector. So essentially what we are doing is we are considering the interatomic distance in along each of these directions and then taking the square of it and also taking the square root of it. So individually we are taking the square of the interatomic distance and then adding all the interatomic distance in all three directions and then taking the square root of it. So what we have seen here is we have seen what a Burgers vector can be a lattice translation vector, and we have seen how one can represent a Burgers vector having both the component of magnitude and the component of direction. And based on this representation, it is possible for us to calculate the magnitude of the Burgers vector, and that is by considering the interatomic distance in the Burgers vector or the distance between the atoms in the Burgers vector, squaring it in along each of these coordinate axes and then taking the square root of it. So by these you will be able to quantify the magnitude of the Burgers vector. So we have seen that the Burgers vector can be classified and Burgers vector can be represented, and the Burgers vector or the magnitude of the Burgers vector can be separated from the overall representation and then calculated. So based on this magnitude of the Burgers vector, you can say where we can find the amount of distortion where it is higher. So the magnitude of the Burgers vector helps us identify the amount of distortion or quantify the amount of distortion and tell where it is higher, and identify and realize where this distortion that is brought about by the dislocation is higher. So just to wind this lecture up, let us just compile what we have seen so far based on the Burgers vector and its representation. So when you want to represent Burgers vector, you need to have a component of the magnitude, and a component of the magnitude, let's just consider or stick with the BCC crystal structure, and the component of the direction. And this component or this combination of the component of the magnitude and the component of the direction will render us the representation of the Burgers vector. Now when you want to calculate the magnitude of the Burgers vector, then we need to consider the amount of distortion the dislocation is brought in all the three different directions, and you need to take the square of the distortion brought in each of these directions. So in case of the BCC crystal structure, wherein we have considered the Burgers vector is equal to the distance between the corner atom and the body centered atom, the amount of distortion that is brought in each of these directions is a by 2. So we consider a by 2, square it for each of these directions, and then take the square root of it. So in this way what we have done is we have considered the magnitude of the Burgers vector. So we have seen how to represent a Burgers vector, we have seen how to calculate the magnitude of the Burgers vector, and a Burgers vector, it gains a special name when the magnitude of it is between the interatomic distance, or when the magnitude of it is equal to the interatomic distance, and this is referred to as the translation vector or lattice translation vector. So we have seen how to represent a Burgers vector and how to calculate the magnitude of it. And once you are able to calculate the magnitude of the Burgers vector, you could say which dislocation has brought the greater amount of distortion. So the greater the magnitude of the Burgers vector, the greater is the distortion that is brought in the crystal structure by a given dislocation. So what you need to understand when we say the Burgers vector is equal to the interatomic spacing in a given crystal structure, what we mean by that is the amount of distortion that is brought about by a given dislocation is equal to the interatomic spacing, and that we have calculated particularly by considering the BCC crystal structure and the distance between its corner atom and the body centered atom. So with this I would like to wind this lecture up. So we have considered two different conventions for constructing a Burgers circuit. So one is the line sense that helps us distinguish edge and screw dislocation. The other is left hand and right hand convention that depends on which system we consider first. And secondly, we have seen how we can represent a Burgers vector and how we can calculate its magnitude. We will build on this in the subsequent lecture. So let's see ourselves in the next lecture. Goodbye.